Well, I just stood over there having to rewrite every question I had for this panel because we had a Bitcoin mining expert right before the mining panel. Luckily, I'm pretty quick, but you answered quite a bit of questions. Today we have Picolo and Piriya and Dr. Nopasit. Thank you very much for joining. I have a bunch of hand-picked questions here, and they are unaware of what the questions are, so this should be kind of fun. And I want to just kind of jump really quick into my first question, and I've crossed off quite a few. Some of it will sound a little redundant on what Picolo had mentioned, but we could elaborate. So in traditional finance, we trust banks and governments to manage money. In Bitcoin, we trust miners. What's the difference, and which system should people trust more, Dr. Nopasit?
Okay. For me, actually, my background also from the energy sectors,
Okay.
and also from the digital industry. And for me, even both decentralized or centralized mining or validation is the same. It depends on the responsibilities. Who responsible for the loss, for the to cover all the things. I think is maybe it's a very controversial for that. But for me, I think Bitcoin or decentralized validation is a good in terms of for example, the war today, like U.S. and Iran war today. I think more people more trust Bitcoin than the U.S. dollar or fiat money that fully controlled by the U.S. government. I think Bitcoin is a good choice for decentralized system. Yeah.
Thank you. And Kumpiriya, would you like to elaborate on that as well? You know, in Bitcoin, we trust miners. Could you maybe just touch on more of the difference for the students and why we should trust one system over the other?
Well, frankly, I don't think we trust miners in Bitcoin, right? Essentially, Bitcoin is a trustless system. And that's very important because, as I mentioned, something called like a decentralized trust or decentralized verification systems. And we hear that a lot in the blockchain industry. But that's not Bitcoin, right? In Bitcoin, in order to even participate in the system, you are required to verify these transactions, these blocks, within the rules defined by the consensus. Right? So if you want to do something different, you're not going to be included in the consensus. You're just going to fork off. Right? So the verification layer happens more like as an entry into the system. What we have decentralized systems of rules and rule keepers. People who keep the rules, not verification, not verifiers, right? So in Bitcoin, essentially what we're doing is we are delegating the need to trust any person, the need to trust a miner or a node, to basically energy. Each transactions are secured by energy, and energy cannot be created out of thin air. It's just the only resource that human cannot magic out of thin air. So everything is secured by energy, and everyone just plays their part in keeping the whole consensus rules together.
Thank you. That brings a great point. I want to actually ask Picolo how you personally feel about if Bitcoin mining is too centralized and how you look at that, or if it's distributed enough, or how you look at distributed mining.
Yeah, I mean, Bitcoin mining has been centralized, I think, for a while. And actually, the fact that it's centralized and we're still okay with it goes back to what, Ajahn Piriya was saying, which was it's a trustless system, right? You need to play by the rules in order to participate. Is it too centralized now? Sure. I mean, you heard me say, right? Like at every single level, at the hardware manufacturing level, Bitmain, 90%. At the pool level, you get 3 or 4 big pools, 60, 70% of the hash rate, right? So you have that centralization. It is too centralized. Am I concerned about it? As a miner, yes. Why? Because if centralization keeps going this way, basically individual miners or corporate miners are left with choice A or B, right? Black or white, Bitmain or, MicroBT, Antminer or Wattsminer. That's it. But luckily, I think there has been a big push over the past, I would call it 18 months or so, where you have open source mining protocols coming up. You have open source firmware coming up. You have open source ASICs manufacturing coming up from Block, the proto rig. So I'm glad to see that. Although on the other hand, I think the pool mining pool aspect may actually get more centralized. Recently, if people have been tracking, mining pool movements, especially in BTC mining, Bitcoin mining, you'll see that as of early April, well, this is early April, I think April 1st actually, or April 2nd, not a couple days ago, SBI crypto pool, which is like maybe the 5th or the 6th largest ranked pool, they announced that they're ceasing operations by July. And the reason I know that is some of my machines are running off SBI crypto because they give pretty good payout. So even the pool, it's hard to compete. So there is, on the one hand, efforts to decentralize at the hardware, at the firmware level. On the other hand, not good signs for the mining pool centralization.
Thank you for that. Dr. Nopasit, we met a few months back, sat down with Dr. Kin and talked about smaller use case mining together. I want to ask you, most people think mining's only for big companies. Is that true, or are there real opportunities for individuals or students in this space?
Actually, for me, I have done some data center before, right? It's very heavy investment for the cooling system and so on. And today the data centers are doing like data service for the mobile phone and also now AI computing. But in the future, surely the financial transaction validation, like mining. But for me, I think something like the solar roof renewable energy source enough, more than enough to support like one Antminer, only 3.5 kilowatt. That the solar home system can make some revenues, and also is to reduce the gap, the inclusiveness. The small one, for example, the retired people can make in Chiang Mai can make like 20,000 baht per month for their living by the small system, and doing like the co-op, right, together by some infrastructure that already mentioned about the Bitmain and also the mining pool. We can be the small pool in those pool, and also can give opportunity to the farmer, to the small one who can invest like 500,000 baht, right, to have the passive income, and also utilize their solar rooftop, for example. That is very possible for the financial model now. If we expect not to acquire like big hydropower in Laos, like Gulf Energy, to do the maybe mining in the future.
Ajahn, period. Why not just buy Bitcoin? why invest in the infrastructure and have that big expense? How do you look at why smaller entities shouldn't just buy Bitcoin instead?
I was actually asking myself that question. I mean, I actually don't really recommend people go out and mine yet, unless they understand what they're getting themselves into, right? Because mining, you have a lot of sunk cost. You have a lot of like upfront capital investment, and that upfront capital investment does not always pays back, right? So maybe you invest $500,000 baht, and if you can generate like 20,000 per month, that yield generation is probably going to keep going down. As miners become more efficient, new miners come out, hash rate goes up, difficulties goes up, so that 500,000 baht, it's not going to be an evergreen investment that just going to keep generating that yield year after year. So you have to look at that term of like payback period. So essentially, once you do that, the question just boils down to what exactly you're trying to do, right? So if your goal is just to get some Bitcoin, then it's probably going to be a lot cheaper and easier to just go buy some. Of course, if you're okay with like KYC Bitcoin. But if your goal is to stabilize your energy production, maybe you have a lot of solar rooftops that you've somehow been fooled into installed a few years earlier, and now you're generating more than enough electricity for yourself. You have some surplus. Maybe you don't want to invest in batteries, so you put these miners in and it just converts all those excess energy into money, which is another form of battery, economic battery. Not really useful in this time where we are running out of gas, but you kind of really want you kind of want a real battery then. But yeah, that's like, it depends on the use case. So if someone would have like cheaper electricity, a surplus of electricity, then of course it's going to be better in just throwing those away. But you also have to take into consideration the capital expenditure.
Picolo, how could students find extra energy, or how could students maybe try to get creative and help me understand why they shouldn't just buy Bitcoin?
Well, I think, latching on what Ajahn Piriya was saying, yeah, I think most times it's probably more economical and makes more sense just to buy the Bitcoin, because it's two things. In addition to like the sunk cost, that's also that time, right? So by the time you mine the Bitcoin that you could have bought with the money that you sunk into the miners, you know what I mean? You might, if the price went up a lot, you might not have enough, right? So, I think that part. But how do students find free energy? Good question. I've been asking that question myself. But honestly
Legally.
Legally, right, legally. I mean, I don't know if this is legal or not, but I know for a fact that, they probably stopped it a couple years ago, but across universities in America, when you live in dorms, you pay for everything, includes room, board, and electricity, right? Yeah. So a few college Bitcoiners I've seen all around in the US, they basically plug miners in instead of space heaters. So they're using the same electricity, but instead of, getting just heat, as I was saying, they also get the Bitcoin. So, but these are going to be like more opportunistic endeavors, I would say. For the most part, I agree with Ajahn Piriya. It's probably easier to buy, Bitcoin. I mean, for myself, started mining because, again, opportunistic and never quite let go, right? I started mining sort of right when the Chinese mining ban came on a few years ago. So, that was opportunistic. I don't know if I'll ever see that again, where you can buy an S9 and it pays itself off, guys, in 2.5 weeks. You're like, holy, right? No, that's not going to happen again. So, yeah.
I just want to add to that. Yeah, I do have a house that I rent out in the UK, and the whole central heating system is powered by ASICs. Yeah, so we're paying just the same electricity we need to pay anyways, to keep those central heating going, except we get free Bitcoin out of it. So that's another angle when you do it. But it's really hard to find that angle in Thailand where it's blazing hot all the time. We don't really need heat, right? So it's a lot harder, but we do have cases where it's become sensible to do so, like, I don't know what you call it in English, lom kep mai, where they keep the logs and timbers, right? You have to dry them out, and you have timber storage. You have to dry out all the woods. We have someone in the community using ASICs to power those dryers, so it keeps the whole thing warm. I keep a cabinet at home where I have all my 3D printer filaments, and they need to keep them dry, right? As well as my camera lenses. So I keep everything in that cabinet, and I put a small miner at the bottom, so it keeps everything warm and dry. And they get free Bitcoin out of that, right? So that's one way to go about it. You're not going for the Bitcoin. You have to pay for these electricities anyway. You might as well just get free Bitcoin out of it.
And how about you, Dr. Nopasit? Why not just buy Bitcoin?
As a Thai citizen, right, I think we suffer a lot, for example, to grow rice, sell the rice, and also the profit need to buy computer from the Western or even from China. Yeah, I think similar thing in the future, especially the 16 commodity coins, that in the future we need to have the reserves for trading in the future. Similar to if we can do the gold mines, why we buy the gold from the others. Yeah, and then we need to utilize rather than the sun go to our rice field and sell the very cheap rice. Yeah, we can do directly to the money to be our reserve. I think similar to Bhutan, right? Bhutan today you may know about the mindfulness cities. They're going to secure the city development by 10,000 BTC. Yeah. For Chiang Mai, okay, we're doing the many business, and I think, for example, the former Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra have some initiative about even the digital wallet, even the G token, and also the stable coins, and because we have the international business, especially tourism, how we do the international business by the crypto, and we need to have liquidity farms for the business in the future, especially today the SEC, US SEC already declare the 16 commodities coins, especially the BTC. Yeah, in the one, and in the future we do need the BTC reserves for our international business in the future, and then we rather than give the business to the big one, or even financing by buying the Bitcoin, why not we do by ourselves. And another thing, we have very good PCB industry. Even the solar energy is a PCB, inverter is a PCB, battery also PCB, and miner also PCB, right? Just ASIC PCB. And now we also work with Antminer or Bitmain to manufacturing in Lamphun. We can cut the cost maybe 2/4 of the cost that we import from Hong Kong today. Even it manufacturing in Shenzhen, but the Bitcoin mining banned since 2021 in China. And then it's for the 700 million population of ASEAN and near the equator, we have plenty of solar energy. And why not? We try to we hit the inflation by mining Bitcoin from our solar renewable energies.
I want to add something. I mean, to your question, like, how can students get started and all that? I mean, you can just buy like a little Bitaxe. That's what they have now. It's like $100 US, you know, maybe 3,000, 4,000 baht. It produces whatever, 10 terahash or so. But then you actually get to learn about Bitcoin mining. You do get some sats if you're in a pool, a little bit. You know, you don't worry so much about the capital cost. There isn't any. You don't have to put in wiring because you can plug into your wall plug, right? So that's for people who want to like tinker. Now, if you're sitting here and you're one of those students who are really, really enterprising, this is what you would do. You would actually go out and think about all the network that you have, all the people that you know, your parents, your uncles, your sisters, your brothers, your grandparents, anybody in the network that has extra energy, like that solar rooftop that I showed you, or like one of these hydro dams that I showed you, go there, discover that it's real, then come back and tell Jimmy Castro, and then he'll call me, and then we can do something. That's how you get started.
Yes.
Like, you know, want to take it next level, you can do Bitaxe, or the other one, call Castro to call me.
Like that. Yes, go ahead.
Okay. I would add some more advantage of Thailand. Not only solar, but also we have a very good TOU, the time of use, like cheap energy. After 10 o'clock in the evening, to 9 o'clock, and also during the daytime, solar fully support. And after that, we can have maybe nearly half price electricities, and also some battery today is also cheap. We can do even net zero for Bitcoin mining by the very standard house size, like 20 square meters solar panels. And also another thing is FTTX in Thailand, very cheap. FTTX, every home have FTTX, can utilize 24 hours of the FTTX, especially the house that the people work in daytime, or children go to school. We can utilize the daytimes to do the Bitcoin mining or other coin mining. That is a thing. And we're talking about the reserve. We're talking about treasuries rather than like Michael Saylor, no sell policy. But we do something else like staking, deposit, or even arbitrage to make to capitalize our solar renewable energies.
Yeah, I want to segue real quick to something more optimistic here. Jean-Pierre, Picolo briefly mentioned Gridless, and I really don't think we spent enough time on that slide because it's very, very inspiring for the students to understand. Starting with Jean-Pierre, Gridless, and I just wrote this right before, Gridless is using stranded energy in areas that don't have electricity, giving power and opportunity to hundreds of thousands of people. Could you help the students understand any of the second or third order consequences of that?
Right. Well, I don't know if Picolo have already explained that, but when you tap into those stranded energy, which we have a lot of that, we have a lot of in Thailand, you know, even the stranded solar, water, dams, everywhere, right? Waste energy. When you tap into those energy, the problem with those energy is that why are they stranded? Most of the time the reason is it's too expensive to sell those energy. Maybe it's located in somewhere where there's no civilization, no demand for electricity. And to sell that, you need to connect all these wires through hundreds and hundreds of kilos. And that's going to cost a lot, and that's going to add to the cost of the electricity. right? And when you sell, since Thailand has only one seller of electricity, you can't really have like different prices for every different region. So if the cost of that is over, right, the amount they can be sold for, those energies will not be utilized. So we have all this stranded energy. And in those places, there are people who want energy, want access to energy, and they don't have access to energy, even though they are right next to an energy source, because the demand is not enough to utilize that energy source. So there's a mismatch of like demand and supply here. What Bitcoin mining does is it can go in and just like subsidize the whole energy production. So instead of having to send these energy far away where there's demand, you can just sell these energy to like the nearby village for cheap. And the rest that you produce that you cannot sell, you can just mine Bitcoin and get some return and some money in return. So that's going to lower the cost of the electricity. What you can have is, this is what happens in Kenya, is that those villages then get access to electricity at a cheaper price that they can afford. So with those electricity, they can afford to have fridges, they can afford to read books at night, they can afford to like have some air conditioning, they can afford to have functioning hospitals. And when that happens, the community starts to grow. The economy of this community starts to grow, which in turn led to increased demand for energy, the increased demand for electricity. And when the demand increases, you curtail off the mining, right? So what happened is Bitcoin is essentially allowing these, remote villages, remote civilizations to actually grow and prosper. And then they just move on to other sites and rinse and repeat and just keep building civilizations. Yeah.
Picolo, I'd love to hear more on your Gridless and how you look at that and how it's empowering communities globally that have never had power before, that doctors could operate on patients at night now with electricity, or how women having childbirth. Just in the last 2 minutes we have, could you elaborate more on why that Gridless is so powerful and why Bitcoin mining is such a powerful thing for humanity and some global citizens?
Yeah, because, if you've been in Bitcoin for a while, we sort of have these memes, all around, right? One of the best kind of memes that I like, or the best statement that I like, is Bitcoin helps those who need it the most. The more disenfranchised you are, again, I'm probably looking and talking to some students from Myanmar and all that here, but the more disenfranchised you are, the more Bitcoin can probably help you, right? Otherwise, we don't call it freedom money. Now, that, again, is a meme because there's some truth to it, but that whole thing with Gridless is basically physicalizing that meme. That's why it's so powerful. Bitcoin helps those who need it the most. These are African villagers living next to the waterfall, a powerful electricity source, and they have no light at night. Bitcoin helps those who need it the most.
Wow. I think that wraps up our last minute here. I just want to thank you guys for joining this panel, and we could continue the conversation if you'd like to with these gentlemen outside. Thank you very much.